Welcome all. Welcome back to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
I'm your host, Cody Vanciololo.
Cody, we are in the 11th week. The football team is playing the Utah Utes. We're playing in Salt Lake City. This was a team that Utah was a team that had expectations going into this year to win the Big 12, be one of the top teams, but it didn't end up going that way, and they are now 4-6 and ended up getting destroyed by Colorado.
Uh, yeah, you mentioned Utah's preseason season expectations. They weren't just predicted to be a top team in the Big 12, they were expected to be the number one team in the Big 12. They got a lot of first place votes. It was them, I think it was Kansas and Oklahoma State, but yeah, just there were a lot of expectations of this Utah team for coming in, and unfortunately, bad performances and injuries have come really into play. Obviously, Cam Rising getting injured once again. That dude, I'm gonna say this right now. That dude needs to retire. He needs to go. He needs to go. He's done with college football. I do not want to see him ever again in college football. The dude's injured. He is cooked. He's done. He's done. And it looks from face value that the Utah program is checked out. Kyle Whittingham looks checked out. His body language and some of the things he's mentioned about NIL in his press conferences, it sounds like that team is demoralized.
I mean, there's a reason why he named Morgan Scalley the defensive coordinator, the coach in waiting. So, like, you sort of had like a thing where if things went south this year, that he was gonna leave. So, like, I mean, like I said, everything this basically has been Murphy's law for Utah. Everything that has gone wrong, that can go wrong, has gone wrong with Utah. So it's just been just a disaster for them. I think in this preview, we're gonna sort of preview Utah. Utah defensively, like they still are. They gave. I think that's going to be something possibly that could be an issue for Iowa State. Their defense is tops in the Big 12. And even though they lost by 25, they still gave Shadur Sanders a lot of problems last week.
Yeah, that defensive unit is still something to recognize. Even though, yeah, they did kind of get their asses handed to them by Colorado. Yeah,
Right.
Shadur Sanders for the first couple of drives really struggled to get going. If that's what I'm reading correctly, I wasn't really able to check out this game too much, but from the looks of it, Utah was able to get to him for a few sacks. But I think Colorado made the right adjustments, and after that, they really just took off. So I think that's something that Iowa State should look towards as something to do is you once you figure out what this Utah defense likes to do, you attack their weaknesses and you go from there.
Completely agree. You detect their weaknesses and then put your foot in the gas. I think should be a game where hopefully the run game, like last week, the run game was actually pretty efficient with getting 4.5 yards a carry. I'm really hoping that this run game gets better, and maybe we'll get a better performance and be with a two back system and definitely incorporate Rocco in the running game and maybe have some more design runs like we saw in the UCF game.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to be a little like just get creative here a little bit more offensively. Like obviously you still want to stick with your typical game plan, but throw some curveballs at Utah here and there. That's the number one thing you need to see out of this offensive unit, especially on first down. I think first down will always establish the tone for how the drive's going to go. And if you come out flat on every first down, that sets a really bad uh example for like the rest of the drive. It sets a bad start and it puts you
Right.
behind the eight ball really early. And that's been the main Achilles heel for this Iowa State offense is not being able to get positive yards of first down and the play calling of first down is something that definitely needs to be addressed and be worked on.
Agree. And there's something that we talked about in the off season about my old high school coach's philosophy about getting 3 to 4 yards a pop, and to get basically getting yourself into third and manageable every single time that you have the ball. The Utah wise, I think offensively they don't really present much. So I am hoping that defensively. Now they do have a good. Now Utah's offense does have a good run game. So that could possibly be an issue. But I do think if with Dom Orange being back into the fold and our defensive line, and hey, maybe this J.R. Singleton injury may be worse than we thought, but I'm hoping whoever steps in there will bring it, and we'll be able to slow down that running game, and then just like force them to pass.
Yeah, you mentioned Dom Orange. Yeah, it's not just him, but yeah, I mean, you also brought back. We also saw Will McLaughlin and Jack Sadowski
Hmm.
playing snaps. So having those two linebackers back, that's going to be really nice for this Iowa State defense that like has been gashed at the linebacker position. Having those two back in on the second level is going to be really it's really beneficial for this team. I'm gonna try to find the program here. Sorry for the camera, but I'm just trying to see if I can find it or whatever. But in the meantime, yeah, those two being back, it's such a great thing to have. And yeah, I think this defense might be a little. Yeah, they should be a little better now that you have those two back.
Yeah, and I think this could definitely be like a get right game for them, especially with as I'll say as visibly inept as an offense that Utah has had the entire year. With Cam Rising not being in there, this should be a game that the defense should be able to tee off and hey, maybe be able to force them into some mistakes, get some
Absolutely.
turnovers, and get a fast start. Now, I think offensively for us, attacking this Utah defense, I think we'll be able to. I think being able to get the run game will be key. But like I said, I think we should be able to pass to set up the run. The play action pass has been there last few weeks, so I definitely expect the emergence of a third option because you already know that teams already know that Higgins and Noel are gonna be the main guys, so they're probably gonna be doubling one, if not both of them. So just like last week, maybe have like a combination of Steve-O, if Burgo's back, or hey, if Bramer's in there, that'd be great, or Ed Skilson or Brett Skilson, or maybe Dom Overby, have one of those guys emerge as a third option for Rocco.
Yeah, obviously. And then I think hearing some pretty good news about Ben Bramer is it's leaning more towards like Ben Bramer will be available for this Utah game, so that's going to be a great asset for Rocco. And then continue to use Gabe Burkle and Steve O'Klotz in their position because those two had a really nice game against Cincinnati last week, and
Yeah,
we saw what they can do in like not just the pass game, but I mean, you could see Steve O and Gabe Burkle with some really nice blocks, so you can get some nice blocks out of those two in the run game, and just great offensive production for those two.
definitely, man. And it would be huge to have Benjamin Bramer back, because he's just a mismatch across the middle. So with that, I want to talk about one thing real quick. The equipment team has been teasing the jersey combination. What do you think it is?
I mean, they this is what they've typically done. Like they tease like the fan base a lot. You know, the fan base that gets a free that's free engagement for the fan like for them. So they get a lot of traction because of the equipment. And I mean, we haven't seen the gold pants. We haven't seen anything gold out of the team this year. So some people have put out the idea that we would wear the gold helmets with the Cardinal script cyclones. We would wear the gold pants with the white helmet and the white jersey, and just a lot of these things. So this might be, I don't know. I mean, who knows? It would be pretty nice to see those like jerseys. I mean, even our own fan base. I'll call them out right now. The fact that they're hating on our own uniforms, I get it. Our uniforms aren't the best, but good lord, the fact that you put this much energy into like dissing your own uniforms is like it's whatever. I don't know
It
why you think
makes
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I got into an
And
argument
also you
with
and
this.
also I feel like there's a hypocrisy too, because I've always been seeing tweets of like, don't care what you wear, just win a game. And then those same people would be under every single like uniform. They talk about how bad the uniforms are or whatever. Or whatever they have to comment about the uniforms. I'm like, pick a
Bro,
side, please.
dude, I got into this argument last week with some people, and they're like, "Well, it's not our school colors." Okay, like, I get it. Yes, black at one point was a school color before in like the 1890s, and
Yeah.
then we switched to cardinal and gold. But I just, for me, it's like win. I don't care what you look like. Like I get the whole thing with school colors and stuff. I just, bro, I want to win. Whatever they wear, they wear. Um, and I don't know. And then like the whole tradition thing, we don't have a winning tradition in those colors. I know that might that might be a popular thing, and hey, people might be mad when they hear this, but hey, look, that's really the thing. We haven't had a winning tradition in wearing those colors, so we might as well change it up. And
Yeah. Might as well do
not, and
it.
I'm not saying, that I don't dislike the colors cardinal and gold, but saying that we should wear those every game, like this coaching staff likes to wear black, so I wear black. We can switch it up. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not a big thing to me. For me, I want to win games, bro.
Yeah.
Like I want to win 10 games. I want this to be like a thing every year to where we're in the conversation where Iowa State is a top 2, 3 team in this league every single year. So what
Exactly.
we wear is the least of my worries.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
mentioned you mentioned something about like winning 10 games, or that kind of segues me into something I thought about the chaos that were the tiebreakers. I think we explained this last show or something like that, and I think we're starting to get some more clarity with it. But
yeah.
I've been playing around a lot with the scenarios on MRed 53's website. I think he's either, I know he's a Cyclones fan. I don't know if he's an alum or not, but if he is an alum, shout out to you. Shout out Cyclone alumni for creating very great things. That's been very great for fans to use, and I've been having a lot of fun creating different scenarios, seeing the different chaos that is going on in the Big 12. But I did see a post on Twitter, courtesy of Iowa State Chicks. They laid out a couple of scenarios for Iowa State, and I
Sure.
think these are the pretty universal ones here. I'm gonna have to go to the Twitter page real fast, but yeah, I mean there are three scenarios. I think, yeah, they mentioned three scenarios that were possible in order for Iowa State to get into the Big 12 title game. Yeah, here it is. So this is the first scenario that they have laid out, and I think this is a no one pretty well. This is the most simple one. Iowa State, well, obviously, in all these scenarios, by the way, Iowa State wins out. So that's the number one
Hmm.
thing is they must win out to have all these scenarios be in contention. So this is scenario number one. Arizona State beats BYU and Kansas beats Colorado. What are you? Do you like the odds of that scenario?
I do. And I'm saying that because like Vegas hasn't been wrong the last 3 weeks about those point spreads with Kansas. So, but based on the fact that I actually feel really, really good about that Kansas Colorado game.
Hmm.
Um, so and then I mean, Arizona State is hot right now. BYU is sort of reeling. I mean, we're really gonna see if that offense can get on track for them, but I don't know, man. I mean, after you getting put in check by that Kansas defense, that is not really giving me much confidence to think that BYU can move the ball in Arizona State.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think this one is the most plausible because I could realistically see Kansas beating Colorado. Like, I mean, Colorado is still firepower, but Kansas has found their footing in
Mm-hmm.
these last two games, and here's an opportunity for them to win a third straight game against an AP or college football playoff ranked like opponent. So like the to that to also be at the top for your season turnaround. Lance Leipold's got the boys like juiced up. He's got them motivated. He's got them driven to win this third game and to keep their bowl eligibility alive. And as for Arizona State, I could that would be a really that this matchup. You had told somebody any of us at the beginning of the year that Arizona State versus BYU would be a game, which would be essentially a Big 12 championship playoff game. Would have probably called me nuts. Like I would have called you nuts for that a little bit. Just because I didn't know what to expect out of Arizona State.
Well, I know. I believe in our man. I remember. I don't know if you remember, bro. Our first episode that we did way back in June when we did the winning totals. I know for us, we definitely picked the under, and I believe the over under was 4.5. And we thought this team was a 3-9 football team.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean they have blown those that win total out of the water, but like two times
Mm-hmm.
basically. All right, yeah, it is two times. Yeah, they're 8-2. So like if they win this 9-2, like so like the fact that like it's a testament to Kelly Dillingham, and the fact that Kenny Dillingham is actually an alum of Arizona State, which means that he loves that school, which means he's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So like the fact that after that Utah game where he says donate to the NIL, he really means that. Like, and if he can figure out recruiting, especially in a recruiting hotbed like Arizona. Arizona has some pretty good football talent right next to California. Like obviously you're gonna have to fight it out with like Oregon and stuff and there and then in the Big Ten, but like that's a hotbed of talent. Getting that in the Utah, all that, the Southwest area right there. I mean, Arizona State could be a top team in this conference in a hurry.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, he could use this season as an example. I mean, with how Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson, Scatterboot has been playing, the recruits like that, and they see like just
Mm-hmm.
how well knit this team is and what position they have. So, and I mean, the national like TV position that like they're in, it's great exposure, and for sure, I think yeah, I gotta watch out for this Arizona State team, and I'm very excited to see. And then obviously with BYU, they're known everywhere. Like, no matter where you go, if BYU is playing, you know their fans like show up because they're not just based out of Salt Lake City. They're everywhere because that fault like because the fan base is all like the school is Mormon. I mean, they're under the affiliation of the Latter Day Saints
Yeah,
Church.
the Church of Latter Day Saints are they're everywhere. That's why there are so many people in Dallas for that SMU game. So yeah, they travel everywhere. They were I mean, and then like I told you, was it last year and the Big 12 tournament where there was like a whole like load of them that were at the basketball tournament in Kansas City. So
Right.
they go everywhere. But let's go back to we're gonna continue this conversation in the Big 12 segment. But let's give our scores on the Utah game. What are your thoughts on this?
I think. Hmm, I know, yeah, Rice Eccles, they're for sure gonna want like a. They are desperate for a win, so they're gonna be playing very close. I would have to see that. I need to just make sure that the spread is correct before I go into this game and give my score prediction. This game should. Okay, so it says Iowa State is a 7.5 point favorite. And the over under is 41.5. So I might take. Oof, I can honestly see the over hit, but I think
Mm-hmm.
Utah can cover that 7.5 points. Right, I think this is going to be like a nitty gritty, like really tight game, where I might actually take the under. So this could be like a 24-18 kind of this is what this feels like. No, that would hit the over. Yeah, it would hit the over. Yeah, 24-18. That's where I see it. Iowa State may struggle, especially like because of they may not have the best like run that defense. It's gonna take them maybe a drive or two to figure out, but once they do, they might get their points here and there. And then I think it's just gonna be a battle of if Iowa State can stop that Utah run defense or that Utah run game, excuse me. I mean, the last game, Michael Bernard, he wasn't even the leading rusher for Colorado or Utah in that last game against Colorado. I think it was their backup that was the leading rusher. It was Mitchell.
Well, and and like last game, like maybe if they do get like maybe if they do give up like is it like last game they gave up 250, but they held Cincinnati to like 68 yards passing. So
Mm-hmm.
even if they were to run all over us but not able to pass, like you can run for what you want, but
Yeah.
you're still gonna have to pass to win the game. So you can take off all that time and lead in time of possession. But if you taking all that time of possession and kicking field goals, that's not gonna do anything for you. But
Yeah.
for me, I think I have a similar score, but I don't have Iowa covering. I think it's gonna be just below. I think I have us winning like 24-17. Or actually no, I think I do have us covering. I think we win
Okay.
27-17.
Okay.
So something like that. I think it's close. Let's say it's like 20-17. I think we win like a we score a late touchdown in the fourth quarter to put
Yeah,
it
to
away,
kind of
and
yeah,
the
to
defense would.
kind of like make the deficit a little bit. Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Cincy game where like maybe you took it to touchdown to climb themselves back within one score, and then like Iowa State they could go on another long drive to a bunch of clock and then get a touchdown to ice the game.
Right. Right. All right. I am gonna take control and share the screen
Okay.
for the Big 12 segment. One
All
second.
right.
Oh man, I just still can't believe we're in freaking week 13.
Yeah, that's
All right.
crazy.
Yes, man. All right. So this is going to be man. The whole schedule, man, is crazy. We have three time slots. There's a lot of games. So the first matchup we have is Arizona versus TCU. The line's 11.5. The over under is 58.5. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
I mean, Arizona finally I mean, they just decimated Houston last week, coming off a bye, and I mean, they probably like I think Brett Brennan is just doing like as much as he can to at least save pride for Arizona, because I think we mentioned that maybe he'll be out the door after this year.
Yeah, I mean, he might be out the door this year. I mean, it's going to depend on how. And even they probably could bring him back. Even let's say they go 4-9, but they look competitive.
Yeah.
That could possibly be a thing to where like he, can give by himself some time.
hmm Yeah, I think that Arizona Houston game that was more indicative of Arizona being desperate for something because they disappointed this year, and Houston, I think they had exceeded expectations by a bit. So I think that was more indicative of the desperation for Arizona than it was for Houston because Houston they're building something. They're laying a foundation with Willie Fritz and they got something they're building up for the next few years down in Houston. I think Arizona was supposed to be like one of like top half Big 12 team and then they've crash landed and fallen flat on their face. So they're just trying to salvage what they can out of this year. Because I Bleav after this year, McMillan and Fifita are gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think I mean I and McMillan's probably going to be a top one of the first two receivers to be off the board in the draft. Probably like when he declares, he's going to be definitely a top guy.
Yeah.
Um, and man, look at the ticket prices for this BYU Arizona State game. $238.
hmm Hey,
Man.
that's a marquee matchup, and I mean that's a prime slot as well on ESPN, the 2:30 slot on ESPN. So they're getting the coverage for this game because they know the importance of this game. I think Kenny Dillingham's words were like he even said, "Do not sell your ticket to any BYU fan. Just hold on your ticket and show up there. They need as many Arizona State fans in there to counter the wave of the section of BYU fans that they know are going to be there."
Yeah, man. I mean, it's gonna be a raucous atmosphere at 2:30. I'm glad that this game is at 2:30. I mean, it's sort of the way the Big 12 the scheduling sort of stinks. I sort of wish that the BYU game was at 6 o'clock, or I thought for sure that this game was going to be a Big 12 after dark, but um, I guess the Big 12 had other plans. And then, of course, at the same time, this is going to be in my quad. Um, we got Colorado going to Arrowhead to face the Kansas Jayhawks. I think in this game, yeah, the over under is 59.5, and the line is -3 at Colorado. I think I really do think Kansas is going to pull off the upset in this one. Like the thing is that with Colorado, like if that were any other team last week, they would have gotten points scored on them. Like
Yeah.
you have the opportunity to score points on on this defense. The thing is with them is can you outscore can you outscore Colorado? And can you like contain them? I don't know if you can really stop them. The key is can you contain that offense? Because Travis Hunter is just ridiculous. And then Horn, there are other receivers that have emerged.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they sort of had the semblance of a running game the last few times because they've gotten 100 yards in a few games. And I was listening to the 10-12, and they had the Colorado guy on, and they said if you can get to 125 for them, that they're hard to beat. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting to see how Kansas defense responds, and if they could just go score for score. I mean, I know this Kansas offense is explosive. Let's see how their line holds up, and that's gonna be a fun matchup. Man. I can't wait to watch that one.
Yeah, that'll be really fun to see. And I mean, for Iowa State fans, it's ironic that you just lost to this Kansas team 2 weeks ago, and now you're rooting for them because of the like just how crazy the tiebreakers have fallen for like for this conference, and for you to be able to like get have a shot to go to Arlington. Yeah, not only are you a like cheered for like for Kansas. I Bleav you're also cheered, yeah, for Arizona State because you want what
Right.
you want if you're an Iowa State fan is for it to be a four-way tie at the top, not a three-way tie, because that a three-way tie will leave Iowa State out. But if it's a four or more way tiebreaker, that favors the Cyclones.
Yeah, man. So we're hoping for a four-way tie, or just if one of these two lose straight up. Then we got another one at 2:30, which probably won't have much, but in one of these scenarios, we need Tech to lose. So hey, let's see if Oklahoma State has fully given up in this game. They have a chance against Tech on Saturday to get their first Big 12 win of the season. What do you think about this one?
I mean, yeah, it just has to come down to does Oklahoma State even have anything left for this year? I mean, you're not going bowling. You're not going bowling. That's the big morale right there. Because yeah, that's pretty much like the big thing for them this year. Because even though they had lost a few Big 12 games, they still had a chance to do so. And this, I Bleav, is the first time Mike Gundy is not going bowling in like about what 20 years or something like that.
Just about, yeah. The last time I didn't go bowling was his first year in 2005.
So yeah, there's not a lot for Oklahoma State to really play for. But I
Yeah.
mean, at the same time, does that mean that the coaches are not gonna like hammer these guys like to finish out strong, even though this has been a very disappointing year for you? You at least want to go out with your pride. And I think these last two games for Oklahoma State, it's just about saving face and saving pride for them.
You got to play for pride at that point. That one's going to be interesting. I'm really interested to see how Oklahoma State responds. And then the next one at 2:30, we have four two no five 2:30 games. Wait, no, yeah, 5 2:30 games. We have UCF at West Virginia, and if you really have been following this one, these fan bases is basically both of these fan bases do not feel good at all about their teams. Both of them think that both of their teams are going to lose. I mean, this one. I mean, you look at the this one's going to be a fun one, but like the fan bases, I feel are not really that plugged in into this one. I
Oh no,
mean,
not at all. No, I think this game is basically a battle of two fan bases who have not been liking their team. They want their head coaches fired. So I
yeah,
think this game ultimately determines like who is going to likely be fired, who's likely going to stay. I think both of these
right.
fan bases want to lose this game just so they can fire their head coaches and start over.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's what is going to determine whoever loses game uh is going to be like, all right, well, we're probably going to fire their like the noise is going to get louder and louder. So that one will be interesting. And then we get to the 6 o'clock or later games. We have our 6 o'clock game on FS1. We have Baylor at going on the road at Houston.
Baylor's pulled off four straight. I mean, Dave Aranda's job has certainly I mean, they're going bowling, so I think yeah, Dave Aranda has certainly turned the ship around. So hell of a coaching job from Dave Aranda
Hmm.
down in Waco to go from 2-4 after the Iowa State game, if I'm not mistaken, to now
Yeah,
winning four straight and putting yourself in a position where you're going bowling, and now you can finish the season 8-4, and you can tell he's keeping his job, and he's for if he wins out 8-4, I think the athletic department is going to want to keep Dave. They're keeping Dave
right.
Aranda after this. I think he saved his job, but if he wins out these last two games, then for sure they can be fine with giving him another year or so.
Oh, definitely, man. So that one, yeah, with that one, that's gonna be interesting. And for me, one thing I'm looking for is let's see how Houston's offense looks because they were just a complete no show last week. And then the final game on the schedule is Cincinnati and Utah. I mean, this is for at least for Scott Satterfield, this is going to be a very very interesting game for him because like Cincinnati's in a situation where they've blown the last few games, and man, can you imagine if you started off 5-2 and then you go and lose out like the last 5 games to miss a bowl
Mhm.
game? Like they desperately need this one or the one next week.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, you said Cincinnati, Utah. Yeah, it's Cincinnati, K State. But I
Oh,
mean,
shoot, my bad.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, but can't but this game. Yeah, I think that this is about both teams being desperate in different positions. Cincinnati, obviously, they want to be able to go bowling, and for Kansas State, they've reeled because they've now lost two straight in the Big 12, and I think they're more than out of the Big 12 title race at
Oh
this
yeah.
point. I think
Hmm.
there's just too many. There's four teams at the top, and I don't think they'll they have slim to none chances of making it into the at making it to Arlington to play for the Big 12 title. So they just got to figure out what's going on in Manhattan. I mean, Avery Johnson has just not been the same quarterback these last few games, like the last month and a half or so. So that has to get
Hmm.
fixed. And then the whole thing with Chris Kleiman, and then that press conference, we got really emotional about his players
Yeah.
and whatever. I can't really dig too deep into it because I don't. The details of it have not been released or whatever. Like, it hasn't been reported on much. But yeah, there's something that is going on at Kansas State, and that needs to be fixed in order for them to at least right the ship and finish the season strong.
Well, look, all I know is that like there's gonna be just they're gonna be extra angry. I think they get back on Schneid and win this game, but all their energy, especially if we win, all their energy is going to be stopping us from preventing us from winning 10 games in the regular season. I know that's going to be their focus. I know during our uh, freaking Farmageddon week, that's all they're going to be talking about because they have nothing else.
Oh yeah,
All I'm saying is, y'all better hope that it doesn't snow because
yeah.
you already know what's going to happen if that happens.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure. I guess I can counter that point with Kansas State putting all their energy into Farmageddon. I'm sure that Iowa State, once they take care, once they get past Utah and whatnot, if they're 9-2, they are not going to slack off at all. They should not slack off at all during practice because they know that Kansas State
Nah.
has put Iowa State firmly at the bullseye on the dartboard, and Kansas State has
Uh-huh.
just been throwing darts at us the entire time. And I mean, they have some beef. I mean, the last time they played at Jack Trice Stadium, Kansas State eked out a 1 point win because of that long touchdown. And I mean, I think you have some carryover from that roster. Jalen Dole and Bo Freeler are two guys that carry over from that farm again very early in the year. So they've tasted defeat at home against the Wildcats. So I think that's going to be an extra chip on their shoulder.
Cody, why'd you have to remind me of that? That was I think that's
I'm sorry.
probably the most upset that I've ever been after an Iowa State game. I was so frustrated.
You know what? Yeah,
Ah.
no, I've been way more upset. Oh God, that was just the beginning of it. That was the beginning of it. Like,
Okay, I'm not gonna
like
cap, bro. I think it was the Texas Get Tech game where you
oh
crash landed. I'm not gonna lie. I was when we me and Eric did that reaction show. I was laughing my. I'm sorry, I was laughing my butt
Wait,
off.
wait, was it the one from a few weeks ago? Yeah.
Yes.
No, what's crazy is the last two games
Yeah.
I've attended against Texas Tech, I've been pissed for different reasons. The 2022 game was because it was I was freezing my butt off and my balls off standing in that stadium for senior night and to watch that like us like run ourselves into a wall repeatedly at the goal line. And then obviously what we saw at Texas Tech this year. Man, Texas
Man.
Tech has just been a thorn in my side when I while I've attended here. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Man. Yeah.
funny. That's honestly fun to think about. That's hilarious.
No, it is. Yeah, I got some news about the K State stuff for next week, but we're gonna get through this
Yeah,
national slate.
yeah,
So we have some Wednesday night action right now. So right now we have Buffalo and Eastern Michigan playing right now, and then Ohio and Toledo.
yeah,
And there's actually a fun six-way tie for the MAC, and I Bleav in the MAC, it would be a rematch of last year's game if that would ever happen to be Toledo and Miami again. Miami pulled off a win over Northern Illinois 20-9 yesterday.
yeah.
So they're in good
I'm
shape.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the current standings for the MAC. I think Miami of Ohio, yeah, they played Northern Illinois yesterday and won that. I
Yep.
don't remember the standings heading into it, but as the standings right now, because yesterday there was some Tuesday night action.
Mm-hmm.
Akron beating Kent State convincingly. Central Michigan pulling out a 2 point victory against Western Michigan, and then yeah, Miami Ohio winning 20-9 against Northern Illinois. So the standings are a little skewed, but right now I have to check. Uh, Buffalo, Eastern Michigan. Buffalo is leading that game right now, 10-0, and
Mm.
then Toledo is leading Ohio 7-0. So
Toledo is surging.
yeah, so just keep an eye out on the MAC just to see what's going on there. Because right now, Miami, Ohio is in the lead. They're number one in the conference at 6-1. Ohio and Bowling Green are game back, 5-1, and then Buffalo and Toledo are both two. Yeah, I think they would be 2 games behind. Well, they're 1 game behind
Yeah.
Bowling Green, Ohio for that second place spot. So yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah, the MAC's coming out these last couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that
Yep. For sure. For sure. Max. I love Max, and this is the best time of the year.
for sure.
Then we got probably one of the most ACC matchups. We have NC State and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech with a chance to get to, I Bleav do they already have? Let me look. I think Georgia Tech already has 7 wins, or
Oh no,
I know they're, they're
they're
6-4. Okay,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
they lost. Are they? Yeah. Okay. The last time they beat Miami. So I mean, they can get to 7 wins tomorrow night against NC State.
yeah. And NC State's looking to be bowl eligible. They need this game or the next game in order to be bowl eligible. So both teams are playing for something a little different. I think Georgia Tech wants some momentum heading to the game against Georgia because I think Georgia Tech will love nothing more than to have a take care of business here and then to ruin Georgia's season. They would love nothing more than to do that
Man,
for
we
this.
we need the SEC. We need like these next few weeks. We need the SEC to start cannibalizing itself because I'm going to be pissed if the playoff is a freaking SEC and Big Ten Invitational.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're
Well,
gonna have more thoughts about that after we get after the schedule.
yeah,
But man, okay, so we got a few. We have an interesting matchup on Friday. Just really one I see is UNLV at San Jose State. San Jose State last week gave Boise State a run for their money. UNLV is still fighting to stay in the race. For the Mountain West Championship game, but the thing is that Colorado State keeps on winning. Colorado State's undefeated right now. So right now, Colorado State's on the fast track to face Boise State in
mm,
the Mountain West Championship game.
yeah. And
Now, yeah, go ahead.
UNLV,
Now, do you have any
yeah,
thoughts on that?
UNLV and Colorado State do not face each other. Uh,
Man,
so yeah, UNLV, they're gonna, yeah, they need Colorado State to drop like a couple. I think they needed them to drop 2 games. I need to look at the tiebreakers for that, but yeah, they need Colorado State to just collapse in these last 2 weeks in order for UNLV to meet up with Boise State again in the rematch.
yeah. And then, man, okay, Saturday. I mean, There's some interesting matchups in this 11 o'clock slate. The 11 o'clock slate is actually pretty tasty. We got Indiana, Ohio State, which is going to be the headliner. Ohio State 13.5 point favorite. I think everybody is hoping that Indiana wins this game. I really, really hope Indiana is victorious. Everybody in the SEC and all the national pundits have been trashing Indiana this week, saying, "Oh, how dare they do that? How dare they
Rank
go
it.
undefeated?"
Yeah.
Um, Texas has a better schedule than them, dude. I'm like, okay, first of all, Texas two best wins this year were at Arkansas, who they struggled with, and Vanderbilt. Like,
Yeah.
no offense to Vanderbilt, but it's Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
The, the,
Here's the
the
thing.
yeah.
Like you mentioned Arkansas. Something that they mentioned, like that was inconsistent even on that show. They mentioned that losing at Arkansas was a bad loss for Tennessee, but then turn around and say it was a great win for Texas. I feel like that was one of the many inconsistencies that was like that's going on in this playoff ranking, and we'll get to a little more of that later. And then the thing with
Ugh.
Indiana and Ohio State, listen, Indiana and Ohio State have played three common opponents: Northwestern, Michigan State, and Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, for reference, they have not struggled in those three games. Ohio State, on the other hand, they struggled against Nebraska.
Right. I'm like, how can you say that they're not deserving when Indiana has basically destroyed everybody? Like, all these games have had no doubt that Indiana was going to win. They have destroyed people.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think this line of Ohio State minus 13 and a half, that's too wide of a spread if you were to ask me. So I think Indiana, like, they have a really good offense. I think they have a suffice defense to at least keep them in the game. I don't know, like, if the defense for Indiana can force some turnovers on this Ohio State offense, Indiana has a shot at winning this game.
Yeah. And then, obviously, as you know, the podcast knows, all the viewers know, people that know me, I'm looking at this other 11 a.m. matchup in the swamp. Number nine, Ole Miss goes to the swamp as a 10.5 point favorite at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this matchup is screaming upset city for me. Man, I just Ole Miss, Ole Miss is a trendy playoff pick, but they've been inconsistent all year long. Like this is like obviously at their best. You saw them last week uh, beat Georgia 28-10 at home. But this is also the same team earlier in the year that lost 20-17. Um,
Yeah, that lost
I
2017.
could see. Oh,
Yeah,
I see Ole Miss win this game.
yeah.
What? Yeah, they lost 2017 against
One and
Kentucky,
six Kentucky.
and like, yeah, 1-6 Kentucky. Man, oh man. So I listened to the shutdown fullcast, and they said, wouldn't it be the funniest thing if Texas were to lose to Kentucky at home?
Hmm.
Oh, I would love that. The week right before they play Texas A&M.
Yeah.
We need that to happen.
Hmm.
Um, but and then we have SMU and Virginia. Virginia has been feisty all year long. I mean, they kept it pretty close to Notre Dame last week, and then Notre Dame pull away. SMU has tons to play for, so SMU better watch out because Virginia's going to come to play.
Yeah. Virginia's coming into play for bowl eligibility, and then SMU. Um, yeah, I mean they're still undefeated, and I mean I think they win this game. They are a shoe in for the ACC championship game. But yeah, they got to take care of business against Virginia, and Virginia's like, yeah, that Dame game you mentioned. Notre Dame eventually did pull away, but Virginia has shown that they can stay with a couple of these teams. I mean, take a look at some of the ranked teams in the ACC. I mean, they were with Clemson for a while last month.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Louisville, almost winning that game, and then yeah. They beat Pitt, who was a ranked team at the time, so they got that win. So they have some stuff there. They just need to figure out if they can pull it together for a whole game, or if SMU will just pony up all over them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in that one, and then there's another interesting one to round out the 11 a.m. Well, not maybe not round out, but the last interesting one in my eyes.
Hmm.
Illinois going on the road to Piscataway, going to play Rutgers. Both these teams are both eligible. Illinois at 7-3, looking to improve on their season after a few disappointing losses on the way, but this one looks like it's going to be a pick 'em, and the line's at 47.5.
Yeah, yeah, I would expect probably Illinois to be able to take care of business, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rutgers was to beat Illinois and knock Illinois out of the top 25. Also, right
Yeah.
below it, real quick, the Brian Ferentz Bowl. I
Oh,
told you guys I'm
yeah.
watching that day. I'm watching the Brian Ferentz Bowl. I might be a sicko for that, but I'm here for it.
Iowa and Maryland, yeah. I probably would tune in.
It's
And
just some
then
cupcake games for Georgia and Tennessee, some tune-up games for the rivalry
hold on. We got
games.
to talk about this one real quick. We have to see how truly dialed out that Florida State is, because both these teams have one win on the season. Like, can you imagine? Like, if Florida State loses this game, I think Mike Norvell might be fired if you lose to Charleston Southern. Like, if
The,
you lose to Charleston Southern
the,
a week before the rivalry game in Florida, he might not make it to the Florida game next week.
that that buy, I think that what it didn't Mike doesn't Mike Norvell have a decently big buyout?
I think so, but I don't know if they'll be able to get rid of him. But like, they might just pay it if they lose that game.
Let me see if I can find this contract detail or whatever. Let's see. It sounds like I'm reading on Yahoo Sports. It's saying like his buyout would be around
Whew.
$64.1 million. And this was according to a contract from obtained by USA Today. So this is what I'm estimating to be based on that. But saying it says here as well. In the case that Mike Norvell is fired, Florida State owes him 85% or his remaining salary and additional compensation through the end of his contract, which
Oh,
lasts until December 31st of 2031.
oh my gosh. Oh, that's horrible. Nah. And then we have let's see. There really isn't anything interesting. Like, and then we brought up Texas and Kentucky, and Lions 20.5 for that one. But
Yeah,
this one is also interesting to me. 2:30 on CBS. Penn State goes on the road to Minnesota.
yeah.
Penn State's 12.5 point favorite, but I think that one will be interesting for Timmy.
Yeah, I just think the Penn State, they've been I mean, people are still saying that they aren't really like too legitimate of a team, but I mean, outside of the Ohio State game, they're winning. They're winning these games. So
Yeah,
it is a little difficult to keep Penn State out of the conversation. And I mean, they're still in the conversation to go to the Big Ten championship game. There's just a lot of things that need to fall their like a few things that need to fall their way, but there is a path for them.
definitely. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, and then there's another one in the Big Ten. That's on the Big Ten Network at 2:30. We have Wisconsin and Nebraska. Both of these teams are trying to fight to get the bowl eligibility in Lincoln. This one should be an interesting matchup. Nebraska has been reeling. Nebraska, just for their sake, really, really needs this game.
For sure. I mean, Nebraska has kind of been similar to Cincinnati. The parallels between Cincinnati and
Man.
Nebraska have been unreal. I mean, they started out what 5-2 or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, and then they've just absolutely collapsed these last few games. So yeah,
I
Iowa
mean,
fans would love nothing more than to have an opportunity to knock Nebraska out of bowl eligibility. If Nebraska loses this game against Wisconsin, the Iowa fan base is going to be just licking their chops at the opportunity.
and man, and when you think about Wisconsin, man, like they just fired their offensive coordinator. after running really an air raid, which just didn't make sense to me at all
Dairy
at
raid.
Wisconsin. I was like, you with Wisconsin, I just feel like
I don't.
spiritually, you gotta know that you gotta run the football. You can't.
You also
I
don't have
just
Russell Wilson. You don't.
yeah, like you don't have the receivers to run like a air raid. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
It didn't make sense to me, and make
yeah.
sense any
But I
sense
mean,
to
the
me at
fact
all.
that Wisconsin took number one Oregon to the brink of an upset, even with how disastrous that offense had played, I honestly think that they could play decently enough to beat Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean both these teams have interesting rivalry games next week. So that's those both should be interesting. And then, man, I didn't know that we had it this week. We have Stanford and Cal.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Oh,
one's gonna be yeah.
this is an ACC matchup and not a Pac-12 matchup.
Yeah, Stanford and Cal ACC matchup.
I
Oh my
can't.
gosh.
I can't with that.
I can't, man. Pitt and Louisville will be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then we have the one at 6 p.m. We have Army and Notre Dame. Army is locked into the American Championship game against Tulane. That's what
Yep.
their opponent's going to be.
Yep.
And Notre Dame is a 15-point favorite. I will say that Notre Dame usually in these games like dominates the service academies, and I expect
Yeah.
the same thing to happen. I
You
mean,
know.
unless Army comes up with a game plan, I just see Notre Dame dominating
Yeah.
this game.
Unless that Army triple option is cranked up to 100, yeah,
Yeah,
Notre Dame should dominate. And this is a thing, like for Iowa, like for Big 12 fans, as much as we want to dunk on Notre Dame and laugh at them, if they lose like these games. We kind of need them to win this game against Army, so that way Army kind of gets knocked down from that like those like five automatic qualifying bids for conference champions because we kind of need Big 12 to
right.
be a top five conference champion, and I think Army and Boise State are kind of in the way of that. But
Hmm.
yeah, sorry, Army, but those uniforms are nice though. I do like those uniforms.
Those uniforms are nice. This is a game that we thought was going to have a lot more meaning, but this ended up being just another game. Alabama goes on the road at Memorial Stadium, and Norman facing OU. OU has just been a dumpster fire, so I mean, I expect Alabama to cover in this game, and OU
Yeah,
might not be going bowling this year.
yeah, Oklahoma. Maybe now they realize that that move to the SEC was all because they rode on the coattails of Texas.
I wish I felt bad, but I don't.
You know, you dug you laid your own bed. Now you'll sleep in it. You're
Yep.
Oklahoma.
Okay, now the moment that you guys have all been waiting for. We're gonna look at these freaking playoff rankings, bro. All
Mm-hmm.
right,
Just
look at this.
I.
And
Oh
as you
man.
know, notably, I would say came in at 22.
Yep.
Um, but Missouri, really,
Come on.
they've
What
dude.
are we doing here? Like this is like the start of it. But why is Missouri still up here? Why are
Why
they
is
still up here?
Missouri still up there? They all the dude, all the teams they've played, they've lost by a combined 79 points in their three losses. Like, what are we doing here, bro?
And you look at just a little bit below, like who's dropped out of the rankings. Kansas State dropped out. Washington State dropped out. Louisville dropped out. And LSU all dropped out. But you're telling me that Mizzou couldn't drop out? They didn't even move. They didn't even move down to the 25 spot. They stayed sitting party at 23. Like what? This is just the beginning of it, but this is ridiculous. And they're trying to use like I know this is a tactic, a delivery by the committee to make it seem like winning against Missouri is a good win. Like what? It's exactly what they're doing. I saw this coming from a mile away. I saw this coming from a mile away, and I'm still pissed that they did this.
And then how the hell is SMU? How the hell is SMU above BYU and BYU beat SMU straight up? Like it doesn't like this doesn't make any sense. And then why is Boise State number 12 when Boise State's best win was a loss against Oregon? Like I
Well,
don't understand.
best win.
Like their best win was a loss. You can you tell
Best
me what other notable win that they've had? No, you
I
can't.
made this. I know. I don't think many people saw it, but I made this tweet saying, "Welcome to the college football playoff rankings of 2024, where it doesn't matter how many quality wins you have; it matters what quality losses you have." Because that's basically what this college football ranking is telling me. I'm looking at Boise State
Dude.
right now, and like that loss, yeah, their best. I guess their best win was against UNLV. Okay,
Yeah, I
but
mean
is that more impressive than BYU going to SMU and winning? And that's another thing. I heard people talking about like, oh, it's because of when you lost, because SMU lost to BYU early in the year that they can recover from it, whereas BYU lost to Kansas, they can't really recover because it's late in the season. Like,
it's so
I don't care when
stupid.
it happens. I don't care when it happens. There is a reason we play these games. It's to determine who's the better team than the other, and we run into scenarios like this. It's simple. You look at who when they play, if they did play each other, and you look who won, and look who put. It's just that simple. Like,
It's just like with Notre Dame refusing to get punished for losing to
oh
Northern Illinois.
god.
Like
Now, I will
I don't
say that
ugh.
they did redeem themselves with the way like after that, but it shows the inconsistency. Like I
Yeah, it's the
guess
inconsistencies of them not getting like you're gonna
punished
punish the
more.
Big 12. Like
They didn't get punished more for
oh,
losing to Northern Illinois. The BYU did for losing to Kansas, and then we're just acting like Kansas is bad. They only looked at the stats. They only acted like Kansas was a really bad 4-6 team.
that's
No,
enough, man.
Kansas is they're one Jalen Daniels non fumble away from being 5-5.
Well, I mean, you look at all the other results; they really could be like 8-2 right now where we're at.
Yes,
And like,
exactly.
I
They could be
mean,
eight
like,
and two. They could be like exactly in the same position as a Colorado.
yeah, I just
And then okay, let's. I mean, what else? You got Tennessee, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Texas. Five SEC teams in the top 12. We can't be putting all of these three, four, two-loss SEC teams in the playoff. Are you kidding me?
I just it like it was but something that we were afraid of, and it's exactly happening the way it should. I'm telling you, like people are like you're going to tune people out of this playoff when you try to make it the SEC and Big Ten Invitational. Like
It's
you
eventually
don't
going to
need.
happen.
That's
It's
what is going
eventually
to
going to happen.
happen, but you're going to turn people away. Like this is why there actually needs to be college football people that run college football, not freaking. This is what
Boots and
happens
suits in New
when
York.
the suits of TV run college football because then you have this BS, bro. Like I am like like I'm so like fed up with the playoff stuff when it's supposed to be that, and then freaking ESECPN because that's what I'm calling them ESECPN because the fact that they won't cover the Big 12 games and freaking uh Desmond Howard saying, "Why are we even talking about K State when the K State, Arizona State, when they were both clearly in a title race, which they don't care about?" It's absolutely insane to me, bro. Like, and that's really my rant for that, man. I just ugh. Like, you want to talk basketball real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, right now I'm listening. My buddy is not having a great time. Where he's watching the women's UNI game, and the UNI is up 9 on Iowa State. So that I mean, UNI came out to play, and I mean, props to them. So I'm hearing it right now. But it- with that, I mean, with even with that, I mean, it's the end of the third quarter. Iowa State down 9 against UNI. I'm not surprised at seeing this, but the men's side they are preparing for Maui, and I mean against IU, for IU Indy formerly IU Pui, uh,
Hmm.
they started out strong. They started out on like what was it, a 20 something to 2 run to begin the game. Let me just see here. It was 14 to 2 run, and then it ballooned up to 27 to 5. And from
Mm.
that moment, the game was done. And the head coach for IU Indy, he got a tee within 2.5 minutes of that game after a Keyshawn Gilbert layup. That he said something, I don't know what it was, but from the video, like from what I saw on the broadcast, he must have said something like that the ref did not like it at all. He was not having any of it, and he just gave the head coach of IU Indy a tech. And from there, the IU Indy was not in the game. They were never in this game. And this was the offensive output that I kind of was looking for. I think we look a little better offensively. There were a couple missed layups and whatnot, but I think in this game we looked a little. I mean, Curtis Jones coming off the bench for 20 points looked great. We have multiple guys in double digit points. Joshua Jefferson getting himself a double double, which is nice to see, and Deshaun Jackson with 10 rebounds as well. So it's nice to see that we have a presence down the paint to rebound. And heading into a game like Auburn and Maui, I think this was a pretty decent like the game against IU Indy. I think this was a decent warm up. There were things to work on, but I'm pretty sure that they'll be tested against this Auburn team who did beat Houston and then did just beat North Alabama 102-69. I mean, Northern Alabama did test this Auburn team for a minute, and then Auburn was able to pull away. I mean, can't like Jones and Janai Broom. Those are the two main guys that you're really looking at to this Auburn team led by Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, man. Like everybody that said we ain't playing nobody. Hey, you got your wish. This is gonna be a game, man. I'm really excited to see how this Cyclone team looks. This is gonna be next Tuesday, right?
I think that's Monday.
Oh,
Yeah.
next Monday, yeah. Monday, coming in. So that will start off your week, and we're basically like in the cyclone eclipse right now because we also have the women next week playing number one South Carolina. I mean, so that's gonna like the women are gonna be tested early, and then we have this Maui matchup.
Yep.
We'll see how the Cyclones do here. We got Farmageddon week next week dealing with the K State fans on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is going to be a hell of a next week, man. And I just realized that this preview is usually longer than usual. We did more stuff. We're actually over an hour now. I had no
Honestly, it's
idea.
flown by. I kind of need this to kind of distract me from the women's game because my roommate, he's not having a great time watching that game. I think it's best for me not to be watching this game right now because I might be blowing a gasket on the women's team. So I'm good. I'm here. I'm relaxing right now. I just kept up on the stat sheet, and I mean, I am not surprised at all with how the UNI women's game turns out because I mean, we kind of ran the same thing women's basketball wise last year. We went down to Drake, and Drake handed us an L. I actually went to that Drake game
Hmm.
last year for you and like for that because I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Des Moines anyways or something. I might as well get a ticket to go watch them. Why not? And I mean, Drake was balling, and I mean, it's kind of the same story here with UNI against Iowa State,
Right.
and I'm kind of glad that like the to Iowa State's credit, I think I think it's a better non-con than I think people expect. I get it, it's FBS versus FCS, but I think not like going to those places. I could tell like it's getting acclimated to a raucous road environment, and I think this is ultimately going to be a good thing for this team this year because they experiencing a raucous environment early with UNI because obviously like they were the ones that have the target in their back. And I say Iowa State has the target in their back, so they know what it's going to feel like now, and I think they're more than prepped probably for Iowa when they go to Carver Hawkeye because I mean they're gonna have a massive target just because Iowa fans they want to rub it in the face that they don't need Kaden Clark and Lisa Bluter and whatnot to beat Iowa State or whatever. They want to be able to rub it in their face. So just things like that. This is still a young season for like these basketball teams. So the result of this, like I may be a little concerned about, but I'm not gonna worry about like it
Yeah,
too
like
much.
don't read too much into this. Like we still got the whole season. We still got the whole conference season to come out. It's just gonna be nice to finally play some competition in the season and
Mhm.
actually legitimize ourselves. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Something
um,
to note about
yeah,
yeah, more going back to basketball. They did not put an official network on our men's game against Marquette, which leads me to decline that our game against Marquette could be flexed up from ESPN Plus to maybe like ESPN two or ESPN U. I would have to. I need to take a look at the slate, but I mean, it not being in stone gives me a pretty happy idea. Like I have a pretty optimistic that our game could be flexed up into a higher network.
Well,
Just
that's what I was saying. I was like, why would you have one of the top teams in the nation on ESPN Plus?
I mean,
That makes
let
no
me
sense.
look at this. Let's be real here. Virginia, Florida. I get it, but I don't think that sounds as
It's not
like
as
hype
like,
in
yeah,
eyeball gathering as say Marquette going to Hilton Coliseum because
right.
it's a top 15 matchup. Virginia is not even ranked this year.
Because
Um,
Tony Bennett retired. So like, what's the appeal in that game? Florida?
let me see. Like, is it just like yeah? It's supposed to be the SEC ACC bench challenge, but this is not going to take as many like this is not draw more eyeballs at least from our at least from a perception standpoint than does Marquette Iowa State for the Big 12 Big East.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's
man, this is our very, very, very long preview show as along with basketball and playoff breakdown. Um, thank you guys for joining us. If the sickos that are still here are still watching this, thank you guys for joining us while we were going on our rants and stuff. Um, Once again, we can be found on Twitter. He is at Matt Campbell impersonator. I am at Sci Guy. Find us on our 5 social media pages on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. I Bleav in Iowa State, BLEAV. Um, Join us next week. My guy, my K State guy, Tree City Sniper, he's going to join us. I'm going to go on his show. And actually, I'm going to be the contributor for his own thing he did for Tree City Sports. I'm going to be the Iowa State contributor on there. So find me on there.
nice.
Um, and yeah, join us next week for basketball content as well as Farmageddon content.
Hmm.
And hey, maybe hopefully everything falls our way and we could possibly have some conference championship talk. So we look forward to talking to you either Saturday night or Sunday. But for Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Van Ciello,
this is a Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.
let's go State.